Now, to echo the words of Neil Armstrong, mankind is about to take one more giant leap. At this moment, 4 astronauts, 3 Americans and 1 Canadian, are just minutes away from climbing into the Orient spaceship on top of the Artemis II rocket. You see them there. They will be strapped into place, their capsule will be sealed, and soon after, they will begin a journey to go further from the Earth, think about this, than any human has ever been, venturing to the far side of the moon. It almost sounds like a piece of fiction. NASA's mission to orbit the moon is scheduled to lift off a little more than 4 hours from now. At the moment, fingers crossed, the weather forecast looks good for launch, even though there has been some rain in the area. It will be the first time in more than 50 years that mankind has ventured beyond Earth's orbit. Now,
mixed feelings here, but certainly a lot of excitement as we wait for launch here in the heat zone. Boris?
So much excitement. Randy Kay, thank you so much. Montine is with us to walk us through the astronauts on this mission. A lot of talent aboard, Pete.
So much talent on board, and the thing I would underscore here is that it seems that because this is essentially the most advanced test flight we have ever seen, there's some good piloting ability here. From Reed Wiseman, and it is a very international crew, and this makes up our crew that will also...
Pete, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
But it's with great news. So we just heard from our team that the range issue has been fixed. So now the mission is a go, and we are about an hour and 13-ish minutes from the launch window opening and watching history unfold before us. Pete?
Because I just want to talk about the fueling that was really the sort of skeleton
lingering issue
in all of this. Yeah. Hydrogen, liquid oxygen in 4 different tanks. 2 for liquid hydrogen, 2 for liquid oxygen. The main stage, that was the biggest concern, and then the upper stage was also a concern. And during the wet dress rehearsal of 8 weeks ago, which was essentially a dry run, pardon the pun, for this launch, there were issues with the fuel itself. And the problem is, with liquid hydrogen, it's an incredibly small, in fact, the smallest molecule, making it very leak-prone. And so NASA was continually finding leaks in the rocket itself, and that was the biggest hurdle we cleared today.
Yeah.
It seemed that that was where a potential snag could occur, and most of the fueling really went on without issue.
Yeah.
The issue is, though, you have to keep hydrogen and oxygen in its liquid form at a very, very low temperature. And so we're seeing some of it vent off.
Yeah, there's a ton of boxes that you got to check off.
And
And on board, our job is to think about what's the next, is it too late to come back? And after it's too late to come back, where are we going to go next? And can we still go there if we have another problem? So
it is Artemis II, this massive space shuttle, space launch system, I should say, that is about the size of the Statue of Liberty. And
by the time we get to the moon, they'll say, "Where you been?" I'm thinking anybody on the moon would be asking us that. As we all know, it's been 50 years since anyone has been back to the moon. We're mimicking Apollo 8 in this journey. This one will just do a figure 8 and come back. But the point is, no one has been that far away from Earth, not only in the 50 years since Apollo 17, but because it's this huge looping figure 8, these astronauts will be farther from Earth than any human being has ever been before. That's kind of an interesting fact about this. Yeah, so of course, you have to get off of Earth. And you remember what your grandma said, whatever goes up must come down. That's actually not true. There's a speed above which, if you left Earth at that speed, you'll never come back. And that's the escape velocity. So when Artemis II goes into Earth orbit, apparently it'll spend, a day in Earth orbit. Why not? If you're going to check out the systems, the life support and rockets and everything else. Really, the escape velocity. It just needs enough speed to get into the orbital influence, into the gravitational influence of the moon, so that it will then fall towards the moon. And so people think that when you're in space, you're always burning rockets. No, in a sort of free transfer, you get enough speed to start your journey that gets you to the crossover point. And in the crossover point, then the moon's gravity takes you in. But in this particular case, they want to go around the moon just once, and that'll take some, you've got to know what you're doing there, and the computers do, we presume, and it comes right on back to Earth for a splashdown in the Pacific. Yeah, so there are a lot of sort of nested layers here. So, for example, if we remember the Apollo era, every mission was an increment on the previous mission. For safety reasons, for familiarizing ourselves with something we've never done before, you don't want to just jump out there and miss intermediate steps where you could have learned something, or where smaller errors can be corrected and not be catastrophic. So that's the first point. Second, it's not always the best thing to use the moon as a launch pad to go somewhere else, only because we take advantage of the fact that Earth has an atmosphere, Mars has an atmosphere. That's good when you want to slow down, all right? Otherwise, you need fuel to slow down. And so to go to an airless environment, it's not always the best place to call base if you're going to go places and then return. But if you're going to go to the moon and stay, then fine. And what's great about the moon, it's only 3 days away, but you can have a whole trip within a news cycle, and nobody forgets about you. So I like the moon because it stays with us the whole journey with the astronauts.
Of course. So 4 astronauts are about to embark on the most challenging space flight of their lives. What could they be thinking right now? What could they be on their minds as they lay flat on their backs with space in front of them? My next 2 guests have been to space several times. Twins and retired astronaut Senator Mark Kelly and his brother Scott will be joining us next. And special coverage of the highly anticipated launch of Artemis II, which is now expected in less than an hour. You're looking at live pictures of Artemis II at Florida's Kennedy Space Center. This historic mission to the moon, bringing humans one step closer to the next frontier, Mars. We're joined now by 2 space experts. Don't adjust your screens. They're twin brothers and both retired astronauts, Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona and Scott Kelly. Thank you both so much for being here. First and foremost, what is your reaction now, being on the cusp of history, seeing it firsthand?
Well, hey, I'm excited. I know the crew members are really excited about this. I'm sure their families are. NASA is. And I think the country is. I mean, this is something that can really unite us and bring us together. And we only got, 53 minutes to go, and these guys are going on an incredible ride here from Florida all the way to the moon and back.
All the way to the moon and back, further than anyone has ever been, Scott.
Absolutely, further, and I think faster than any other humans have ever traveled.
Yeah, what does it mean to you to be here today, witnessing this, given your time in space, given everything that you've been part of as NASA gets back to the moon?
Yeah, well, one of my earliest memories was Apollo 11, 1969, first lunar landing. So for me, 50 years later, be here seeing people fly around the moon is really, really amazing.
The only place that I would rather be than sitting right here next to you is sitting about 2.5 miles in Orion.
I bet.
On the launch pad.
What is it like to be laying there, as I was saying a moment ago, with someone you're very familiar with, Colonel Katie Coleman, laying on your back, going through that checklist? It's got to be nerve-wracking to a degree.
It's exciting. You're focused. And, in my case, doing that 4 times on the space shuttle, you really just don't want to make a mistake. They got things that they have to do in order. Some of them are rather complex, but you're focused on the mission, and you're really looking forward to getting it started when that clock hits 0.
And when that clock hits 0, what goes through your mind?
Well, it depends, I think, on which launch it is for you, but, a new rocket, no one's ever flown this before. In case of, the Canadian Jeremy Hansen, he's never launched into space on a rocket. And the first few seconds, you're like, holy crap, this is more energy than I thought. As a matter of fact, I tried to explain, I flew a couple of years before he did. And for those 2 years, I tried to explain to him what launch was going to be like. And then when he landed on his first mission and the hatch opened and he came out, the first thing he said to me is, I had no idea what that launch was going to be like.
Yeah, it's a crazy ride.
It's indescribable, it seems.
Yeah, and the simulator can't. The simulator does a really good job at the systems.
Sure.
Doesn't even try or attempt to make it feel like what it actually feels like.
8 million gallons of thrust is
You know
something
how-
many people felt.
Well, you know how it looks like you're going up really smoothly?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like you're shifting like 30, 40, 50 feet in either direction very rapidly, like you're going down the railroad tracks on a runaway train at 1,000 miles an hour.
That is a great way to put it. I wonder, Senator, what you think this means for the country. You were talking a moment ago about a unifying moment as we're divided in our politics and even on space exploration itself. There's a lot of folks that I've talked to out there that are wondering why spend so much money on these expensive missions when there are issues on land that money can alleviate. What is your response to those folks?
Well, I mean, a couple things here. First, on the unifying thing, right? It's good when we can come together as a country. We've got a lot going on, right? There's a war with Iran. There's a war in Europe. We've got rising costs and everything from groceries to rent to healthcare. But why do we want to do this? Well, first of all, this is only something like Americans can do, right? We haven't seen, the Chinese are attempting to go to the moon. They can't easily do missions like this.
Senator, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I've just heard from one of our producers, and I want them to repeat it one more time to make sure I get this precisely right. There is a problem, a new problem, a temperature reading on the launch abort system battery. For someone who has no idea what that means, can you put that in context for us?
Well, it's likely, you know, the abort system that allows the Orion capsule to be pulled off the top of the rocket if things start to go wrong. That system, obviously, if there's a battery issue, has a battery in it, and maybe it's not sensing the correct voltage or that the battery's fully charged. We'll see if it's something that they can fix. They might be able to fix it here in the next hour or two.
Yeah.
Right, the launch is supposed to be in 49 minutes, but they have a 2-hour window after that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. These things often happen, and sometimes NASA can fix it there, and sometimes it might take a day or two. For big problems, you sometimes have to roll back to the vehicle assembly building.
Right.
Hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, they had a previous glitch with one of the systems that was addressed, and so hopefully we'll see this get resolved within the next 50 minutes or so. As you mentioned, the window is quite wide, so we may still see a launch tonight, and it seems NASA is confident that we will. Had you ever been part of a mission, Scott, where you weren't sure if takeoff was going to happen or not, and you had some of these issues, whether helium leaks or now this reading on the Orion capsule?
I've flown twice on the space shuttle, and in both those launches, I think in every launch of the space shuttle, there's always a possibility that you're going to scrub. It happened often. My 2 flights on the Soyuz, the Russian Soyuz, it was a little bit different because they never scrub and the launch in any kind of weather, so there was always a little bit more of a feeling that you're actually going to launch on the day you launch. But they just had different rules, different systems, different requirements. But in this case, brand new rocket, first time, people on it, they may scrub, and we'll launch when we're ready.
Yeah. Senator, I wanted to get back to the point you were making a moment ago about unity being fostered, inspiration, ambition being fostered by watching something that is remarkable, an achievement that is truly sublime because it takes so much effort and work. And I imagine that there's an added level of presence and I guess hope for mankind when you're out in space, seeing the planet, seeing home from far away. Talk to us about that
when
sensation.
you see this big round ball, let me remind folks, round.
Got to make sure they understand. Yeah, it's round.
For any of you deniers out there, it is round. Just floating there in the blackness of space, I mean, you get this like strong and deep sense about how we're all in this together.
You don't see political borders, right? When you're looking at the Earth from day, I mean, at night you see some, but it makes it seem like we're all in this thing called humanity together.
And we're not on an island in our solar system, and there's no other place to go.
Yeah, sharing this pale blue dot.
That's
Senator
right.
Mark Kelly, Scott Kelly, thank you
Thank
both
you.
for sharing your time and perspective. Appreciate you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks so much, sir. Coming up, crowds around the country and the world are waiting in anticipation of the launch of Artemis II. Plus, we've got an up-close look at what happens when the Orion spacecraft carrying the astronauts separates from the rocket itself. Stay with CNN.
For this four-person crew to live there for 21 days if they had to, with their spacesuits and food and water and waste facilities and communications equipment, everything they need, even some exercise gear. And they'll appreciate that space because it's a very long journey from the Earth to the Moon and back, 685,000 miles, as Orion is expected to fly.
Potentially bad news is the issue with the battery on the launch abort system. That is the little tower at the very top of the Orion capsule. It has 4 different rockets on it. The battery there is a 120-volt battery. That is where they're having issues with a temperature sensor there. Unsure if it's an errant reading, unsure if it's an accurate reading. This could be a big wrench in the system.
Yeah.
To pardon the pun, but it is not necessarily a no-go yet. You can see that the launch clock is still counting down, 35 minutes, 35 seconds. If this occurs in the terminal count, a lot closer to launch time, around 10 minutes out, then we could see a bit of an issue. And remember here, there's some aces to play. So the window, 2-hour launch window, opens at 6:24 Eastern Time, but it's a 2-hour window until 8:24. So there could be some time here for the tens of thousands of folks involved in this mission to really sort this out.
Yeah.
Although the closeout crew that was up there on the tower with the 4 astronauts in the Orion capsule in integrity have now left the tower.
Yeah.
Seems that things are still moving forward, although there's this one glitch in the system.
Yeah, I asked you this with the previous issue that was resolved, but I have to think that for the astronauts on board, there's a little bit of frustration, just given that everything so far has gone right. Now it's like, maybe it's just a sensor. Do you sense any frustration?
You're allowed to be human. You're allowed to even just think, we're probably not going to need that thing. We just want to go. And that's why actually NASA and the crew make these rules about, what is okay. You make them so you're not making those decisions about what is okay in the heat of the moment. And it also might, this is their first time to strap in. They know that it might not be their last.
Yeah, no doubt. And Miles, as we were hearing from Pete about the significance of how this all came together in our conversations today, you've emphasized that Artemis II, in a lot of ways, is an amalgamation of different projects that NASA has had. We were talking previously about the RS-25 engines and this Orion capsule itself being sort of integrated into this system. What's the significance of all these different parts coming together for this moment?
Well, Boris, this was a rocket system that was designed in Congress. I think we can just leave that out there and we can decide
Interpret that how you will.
The rocket scientists might want to be involved or not. It might be a good idea. This was an idea that was born of politics, and a lot of NASA has been linked to politics since the beginning, of course. The entire moon race was geopolitics. But in this case, born out of decisions whether to go to moon or Mars and cancellations of programs, this is what survived when Obama canceled the moon mission that George W. Bush envisioned. And politicians held on to these pieces, quite literally, of the system and the jobs that go along with them in their districts.
Yeah, if you can't be in Kennedy Space Center, this might be the next best ticket. This is just right door to Johnson Space, kind of educational building where they have a space, and there is a big on here behind me, and the moon is electric.
So as you can see, it's not only hard to launch a huge space shuttle, it's also hard to just go live from Houston, Texas at a launch
rocket
party.
science. So.
Hey, listen, these things,
The details,
these
right?
things happen.
They have to be right.
Case in point, a lot of things have to go right. We've got about 30 minutes before the launch window opens. There is a lot to keep an eye on coming up. What this historic mission to the moon means for the United States and for the world. Who better to ask than Bill Nye, the science guy? Moments ago, NASA also saying that we are well on the timeline So just about a half hour from launch, we're going to hear from Bill Nye and keep you updated with the latest on this mission to the moon. For those just joining us, welcome to CNN's special coverage of this historic space mission. For the first time in more than 50 years, humans are heading back to the moon. I'm Boris Sanchez, coming to you live from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Behind me is the Orion spacecraft, perched on top of NASA's SLS rocket. In just minutes, 4 astronauts are hoping to embark on the most demanding flight of their lives. One that'll take them 4,600 miles beyond the far side of the moon, the furthest humans have ever gone into space.
This is the hottest ticket in town. Take a look at this crowd here. They have been waiting out here in the sun and the clouds all afternoon. It's about $250 a person to join the crowd here in the heat zone for this Artemis watch party. Now, they have been going with ebbs and flows all afternoon as well, as there are those little tiny disappointments, those little tiny glitches that you've been talking about. You hear the oohs and the ahs and then the cheers from the crowd as each little glitch gets fixed. So we hope that this latest glitch gets fixed as well. There are a lot of VIPs here. I talked a little bit to some of them. I want to take you out here so you can see the rocket, how close we are to it in the heat zone. But I talked to some of these VIPs. One of them was Victor Glover's mother-in-law. He's the pilot. She told me that she is prayerful, hopeful, and encouraged. She said when she saw him today at the walkout, he looked calm, confident, and focused. I also talked to his best friend since the 9th grade. He is the godfather of his children. Victor Glover was the best man at his wedding. His name is Major Sellers, and he said that he has a mix of pride and fear, but both those are cranked to 11, as he put it. But he said he knows Victor Glover and nothing will go wrong. And I can tell you that in some of these press conferences, as we've been waiting for launch day, Victor Glover said when they are strapped in, he says that it's both a terrifying and a terrific feeling. And people here feel the energy of that. They are filled with pride, filled with excitement, but also a little bit fearful. But they're not letting that get in the way of all the fun that they're having here at the watch party. Boris?
And in about 23 minutes, we are all going to feel the physical energy of this launch. It sounds like the issue that we've been concerned about is in the process of getting resolved. Randy Kay, thank you so much. We have great news. We're learning from NASA that the battery issue is believed to be an instrumentation issue that will not apparently affect today's launch. So it seems that all systems are go, and we are going to witness history in less than 23 minutes.
And this is a flight test, and it's only the second flight of this rocket. But everybody, because the technology is so mature, everybody's pretty confident it's going to work fine. Hundreds of launches every year, not just from the United States, not just from the commercial companies involved, but all over the world. Furthermore, the discoveries that are being made out in space on the surface of Mars with these space-borne telescopes where we're getting images, we're just learning about the motion of galaxies and planetary nebula on account of the influence of what we're currently calling dark matter. These discoveries are changing the world. However, you talk to anybody, and they know the phrase Big Bang, they know the phrase black hole, because astronomy and exploration of space is such a fabric, is so much a fabric, part of the fabric of our society. And this is where we invest our intellect and treasure to build these rockets, hire these crews, train these crews, and have the Space Launch Complex, where you are there in Florida, to pull this thing off. Well, inspiring younger generation is going to happen. That's what I always say. If you're exploring space, that's going to happen. But we want to make discoveries. And I just recall, I'm the head of or ambassador now of the Planetary Society. And we face a crisis. I don't know how far you got into this, where the NASA budget, science budget, was going to be cut in half. The overall budget was going to be cut by 20%, which is enormous. There are a couple mysteries associated with the moon that have, let's call them science mysteries. that we want to understand, resolve. Why is there water ice on the moon? You would think, if you would think about it at all, you would expect water in the vacuum of space, whether it's ice or anything else.
It's an amazing journey of learning and exploration. Bill Nye, thank you so much for sharing your perspective today. Thanks for being with us. Now, just about 16 minutes away from the launch window opening, and we've got the rest of our panel with us. Garrett, please stand by, because Pete Muntean is going to tell us more about the actual astronauts, these 4 astronauts, 3 Americans, 1 Canadian, that are going to be headed where no one has ever been.
And now they can breathe a sigh of relief that we have this update from NASA that says that the NASA engineers investigated this sensor that was part of the launch abort system. That's the tower at the very top of the Orion capsule there that controls the attitude, the position in space of this launch abort system that moves the astronauts out and away in case of a abort close to the ground. The temperature was higher than expected, but it's now believed it was an instrumentation issue, like we speculated here, and now it seems that we're going to continue with the launch. The folks breathing the sigh of relief are these 4 here. This was the walkout photo. Reed Wiseman is the oldest, among the oldest, and is the oldest who is on this flight today. 50 years old. He's in the left side seat, really primary control duties. And then there's Victor Glover to his left in that photo, to the right immediately on your screen, seated next to the commander, also on the left side of the rocket, responsible primarily for maneuvering. Then there's Christina Cook, although it is spelled Coke. The pronunciation is Cook. She's on the right side, closer to the hatch, critical spot there. It will be the first female to ever participate in any sort of lunar mission away from Earth, rounding the backside of the moon. And then Jeremy Hansen, who is the first Canadian to ever participate in a lunar mission, first non-NASA astronaut, and the first Canadian to travel into deep space. He's also seated on the right side of the capsule, primarily responsible for life support equipment. It is a really tremendous weight that they have on their shoulders now as the clock ticks even further and further down. Yeah. There was an uproar in the crowd here at the hour mark. Everyone has been stone silent, it seems like, ever since, because I think we're all waiting with pins and needles on what has been a day where we have cleared hurdle after hurdle, and things have gone remarkably well. It is really quite incredible that we are at this point. And some critics would say there's too much pressure on this mission to go today. But the thing to consider is there is a good window. It seems that NASA's going to take it. The weather windows, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not near as good.
We are about to enter the terminal clock, the terminal countdown. And Miles O'Brien is here to help us understand the significance of what is about to happen, because this is now getting more and more real, Miles.
Well, I want to take a moment, Boris, to talk about the team that is making this all seem so smooth today. The group of people in that Launch Control Center, led by Charlie Blackwell Thompson, they have handled each of these glitches really well. And much has been said about the fact that the Space Launch System doesn't have a high tempo. It's been 3.5 years since Artemis I. I think we're going to get a polling. They're starting to poll right now, I think. But
they are about to do a poll.
We might want to listen to that. But I will say this. I think the team is doing really well.
Help our viewers understand.
Yeah, so basically, the launch director goes through the room. Each console is responsible for a little subsection of the data stream and the equipment on the rocket. They're looking at those screens, making sure those batteries are conditioned correctly, making sure that flight termination system that we've been dealing with is working just fine, working on all the other systems, and reporting back to the launch director, go or no go.
Yeah.
And she makes a decision after she polls that room whether to recommend a launch today. And that's what we're about to get into right now.
So essentially she takes the wisdom in the room, everybody that's on top of their unique subset of this mission, and then ultimately makes the call. And as we get to now 11 minutes, less than 11 minutes and 30 seconds, there's a lot riding on that decision.
Personnel, we got a little bit more.
It's true, and we've seen this team make a lot of really hard decisions. And actually, I've seen a lot of photos and videos of their interaction with the crew, where their one-on-one interaction, talking about these things, outside of the control room, outside of simulations and things. But in real life with the rollout, a lot of different decisions. They have a lot of experience making hard decisions, and especially ones that they wish would go in a different way.
Yeah. It does seem like they're going to pause the clock at 10 minutes out, which was one of the aces that they have to play. I'm listening to NASA TV in my other ear, and it seems like they're going to pause the clock to do some more work. It's unclear to me what the work is.
They're saying they have more work to do.
That was the NASA test director, Jeff Spaulding, reporting that there's still more work to, but it was unclear what he was talking about, and that's why they're going to hold a little longer at 10. But this is how these countdowns are built, with these holds built in, to do an opportunity for the team to regroup, to focus the mind, to reset deadlines, so they know where they are and how much time they have to play with. And that's why these holds are important. They go back to the days when they were doing rendezvous with the Gemini flights. They wanted to keep everything in sync, but it became a part of the habit here to have the holds as a point to stop and regroup.
Let's go back to Garrett Reisman, who's watching alongside us. Garrett, your reaction to hearing that there's now been a hold put on the launch?
That's correct, Boris, and it's really not a big deal, is I guess my summary. We have plenty of time. It's about a 2-hour launch window, so there's no need to rush. If the launch control center and the launch director feel like there's anything that's not completely ready to go, they have the opportunity to take a pause, to take a timeout, and then resume once the team is ready to go. So this is standard, as Miles just said, this is kind of standard practice. And is nothing really unusual at all.
And Katie, I want to go back to you because you shared something with me a moment ago as we're anticipating whether or not we'll see a launch today as this 10-minute hold is now in place. You were on a mission that was set to launch. Everything was checked off. And it wound up getting aborted with about 8 seconds.
Correct.
Before liftoff. What happened? What is that experience like?
Well, at about 33 seconds out, that's when the automation takes over, and the count is automatic. And that's when you kind of think, okay, we're really going, right? And then we had an abort for a hydrogen leak. And I was the person who would open the hatch if we had some kind of emergency exit, and I was, getting my things undone, and all of a sudden you hear for X number of parts per million. In other words, a really tiny leak. So I decided the real people should open the hatch, right? But it was a big deal in that the person who stopped the launch was a very courageous young man who was supposed to see 2 measurements of this value of a leak, and in order to abort the launch. But he knew that if he waited, the engines would light. And they've actually now rewritten this criteria with the wisdom that actually he brought to the situation.
Just a moment ago, we were looking at...
They're going to go.
Yeah, so we just heard from our team that is monitoring these NASA communications that the recommendation from officials at NASA, the experts that are deciding whether or not we're going to see a launch or not, their recommendation is go, Pete.
It sounded like there was some sort of loss of telemetry. There was a loss of lock with telemetry, which is so key to launching a rocket like this. You need to be able to get the telemetry down to the launch facility here at Kennedy Space Center in real time, so the launch director and everybody in mission control can see exactly what's going on. Sounds like, listening in my other ear to the live feed from NASA, they're going down the line here, and they're beginning a roll call of go or no go.
Let's listen in.
We are clear and ready to pick up the launch readiness poll with your go.
All right, sir, I am go for the poll.
All right. And for all personnel, this is the NTD conducting the Artemis II Launch Readiness Check. Verify ready to resume count and go for launch. OTC.
GC is go.
STC.
STC is go.
GTC. C's go. MCO.
GO's go.
Safety Console.
Safety Council is go.
LPE. LPE's go. RTD.
RTD's go.
Houston Flight.
Houston Flight is go.
ROC.
ROC is go.
And CDR.
Crew's go.
Copy that. Thank you, Reed. And Launch Director, NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
All right, NTD, I copy all. At this time, I'll perform my poll. Attention on the net. This is the launch director performing the final poll for launch. Verify no constraints and go for launch. EGS, Program Chief Engineer.
Artemis Chief Engineers are go.
Copy, thank you. EGS, Chief Safety Officer.
The Artemis CSOs are go.
Copy, thank you. Range weather.
Launch weather is go.
Thank you, LWO. And Artemis MMT Chair.
MMTs go.
Thank you, John. And Integrity Launch Director.
Good to hear your voice, Charlie. PLT. Thank you, Charlie. This is Victor. We are going for our families. MS1.
This is Christina. We are going for our teammates.
MS2. This is Jeremy. We are going for all humanity. All right, Charlie, your Artemis II crew is go for launch. Full send.
I copy that. Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy. On this historic mission, you take with you the heart of this Artemis team, the daring spirit of the American people and our partners across the globe, and the hopes and dreams of a new generation. Good luck. Godspeed, Artemis II. Let's go. I copy that. And NTD Launch Director.
Go ahead, Launch Director.
Yes, sir. You have a go to proceed with countdown.
Copy that. I'll put it in work. CDR, NTD.
Go.
Gear risers and initiate short purge per your eproc 10.1.1.
Godspeed, Artemis II. The launch is a go. And with those words, we just heard the entire team behind this mission essentially give it a thumbs up. We heard some folks say, for humanity, it's a go. Full send. People are really excited about this launch in that room, and it gives us renewed confidence that they've done their homework. They've checked off every box. Anytime there was even the appearance of an issue, it's been resolved. And what is next is a countdown of 10 minutes and then launch, Katie.
Do people know what full send means?
I think people at home know what full send. She knows what it means.
You gotta send it. You gotta go. Yeah.
What struck me was how both personal and professional this launch go poll was, and I've not heard that before. Have you?
I thought it was lovely. And
important.
Let me just inject one point here. This is the first female launch director in NASA history, and I thought she put a different touch on the whole thing.
Very true.
And I thought it was a little more heartfelt and emotional, frankly, than some of the steely-eyed missile men we've watched over the years here. And I also found it really nice to hear from all 4 crew members. You didn't hear from all the crew of a shuttle. It was nice how everybody kind of represented. It was an emotional moment, I think.
It was for me.
Yeah, I'm pumped, Pete.
They are going to start the clock as soon as things are configured here. I'm pumped too. This is my first launch that I have ever covered. In the image of my TV dad and mentor Miles O'Brien, I take after. It's a real hoot, and you know I've turned into a space geek. By being here to watch the worldwide media descend on the mound here, to watch the line for merge here. You know, it is really quite something to behold. And we've not even seen a launch yet.
It's true. It's
you
true.
have done so well, Grasshopper.
A full circle moment. Look at that.
Really a thrill to be here with you.
You did good.
We have only shared double boxes at CNN. Yeah. We have never been on the set together. It's pretty simple.
Look
awesome.
at that.
Yeah.
You get a launch and a heartfelt moment.
And a bromance.
Between mentor and mentee. Didn't know we were expecting that. Garrett Reisman, you're watching. Tell us your thoughts as you're hearing the Artemis II team give this mission a thumbs up.
You know, I was getting flashbacks because when you're strapped into the rocket, getting ready to blast off, you never really know if today is truly the day that you're going to go. You know, there's always, in the shuttle era, it was about a 50-50 shot. And you've certainly seen today, you know, they've overcome an issue with the batteries, with the range. And so you never know right up to the last minute if today is really the day or if it's just a dress rehearsal. But when you hear everybody go down the line and say go, you suddenly get the feeling that today really is the day. And that gave me goosebumps all over today, just hearing it just now, remembering what that felt like when I was sitting in there ready to go. It's a very special moment.
Describe the indescribable for us.
Well, having flown in space with both of them, I understand the communication problem.
Well played.
It's because when it really, we had 7 delays over 30 days for my first flight. So I think I might be somebody people don't want to fly with, right? But when we really did lift off, there were 5 of us that were rookies, 2 experienced people, and it was like nothing you could believe. I mean, just I think Mark said, the railroad train going, runaway train over the railroad tracks. Because when
So everyone has kind of come out from their cubby hole here at the at Kennedy Space Center in the media area. Folks, I'm looking at them huddled around the phone, listening to the live feed. I'm seeing our Jackie Waddles there, who's been the backbone of our coverage here, and Gabe Ramirez. She's excited. She has been sequestered away, pumping out details on CNN.com. The sea of hundreds here, and that's not to mention the sea of probably thousands here in the area of the Cape, parked with their cars on the side of the road.
Yeah.
We are now looking live at the SLS rocket. This is the most powerful rocket NASA has ever created. In just a few minutes, we are going to experience here the physical sensation of 8.8 million pounds of thrust as this 10-day voyage to the moon begins. This is not the biggest rocket ever, but it is the most powerful.
Yeah. Hey, Miles, talk to us about the Axis arm as it moves away. What are we watching? What is happening right now, not only inside the capsule itself, but also with the system, with the entire SLS system?
Well, if you think about it right now, with that crew access arm away and the closeout crew gone, it's a lonely place out there. There are actually some armored personnel carriers about a mile away from the launch pad, which are have people inside to get them if there was a serious problem. But if something does happen on the pad, there's a whole scenario where that arm will swing quickly back into place, and the crew has a procedure to get out of blow the hatch quickly, get out, and get onto what amounts to a glorified slide wire, which goes up to about 55 or 60 miles an hour down into an area where a bunker is. Katie, I don't know. I think one astronaut did it once to prove it could be done.
we do everything. We practice all of that, even climbing into the basket, except actually chopping the rope and getting. I think Charlie Bolden got
Charlie
down
Bolden
there.
was the one astronaut who did it.
Dangerous for astronauts to do.
So 4.5 minutes away from launch as the clock continues to wind down toward liftoff here at Kennedy Space Center.
Feels like, people say it feels like there's like an elephant sitting on your chest. I don't know if that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but you do feel those G-forces, and those are unusual because the noise, the vibration is kind of like flying a high-performance jet, but the G-forces in a jet only last for a few seconds, and here they go on for minutes. They're going to be feeling that for 8 minutes and 6 seconds, and that's very unusual. You don't sustain it like that. And you realize that G-force you're feeling is the acceleration, which is speeding up to get into orbit. And you realize after you do the calculations in your head, after a few minutes of doing that, and it's still going, you're going really fast. And it's you go from 0 miles an hour to over 17,000 miles an hour in just about 8 minutes, and there's no other ride like that.
Yeah, we're now 3 minutes and 16 seconds away from liftoff.
We've entered into a very critical phase where essentially the rocket is going to be completely under its own power. There won't be umbilicals attached here in a moment. They're not doing the continual refueling called replenishment. That will end here in a moment. It seems that we're going to see a rocket launch today.
Katie, what's going through your mind right now?
Excitement. A little bit. It's easier to be in the rocket than watching people in the rocket, especially people that you know and love. And I can't wait to see them go, and yet it's hard to watch.
So I've just heard from a producer that CLS is go. What does that mean?
Ground launch systems, I believe.
Yeah. See them gimbaling? Do you see them moving the engines there, Boris?
Yeah.
Those are the RS-25 engines. There are 4 of them on here. What they do, right before they light it up, they kind of run them through the limits of their movement because that's how it's steered.
Good stretch.
Yeah, it's a stretch. It's a little stretch to get right limbered up for the big flight. Exactly.
What are the small flames that we're sort of seeing off the bottom there?
Well,
if we get to 2 minutes.
there's a little bit of hydrogen leak no matter what you do when you have a rocket like this, and so they have sparklers there. Essentially, that's kind of probably not the technical term, but the idea is to it's like a pilot light. That's the way we're describing it. To reduce the possibility of build up and an explosion.
Minute 20 left.
Core power on its own. The core stage is now on its own power.
And we're just about a minute away now, Miles, from liftoff.
We're getting to the point, too, where the computers are in charge. Within 30 seconds, human beings can't make the decisions quickly enough. So if anything stops or aborts at this point, it would be done by the onboard computer system of the SLS. The rocket is in charge now.
As we get to about 40 seconds, let's listen in to what will be a historic launch.
GLS, go for your left.
$25. 20. 15. 10.
GLS is go for core stage engine start.
Houston, integrity, good roll pitch.
Roger, roll pitch. Integrity, AMT high. Integrity through max Q on, possibly on.
Stan, we have you loud and clear on possibly on.
Have you the same?
We have just witnessed history and greatness firsthand. This enormous rocket being powered by ingenuity and tens of thousands of hours of expertise, of practice, of dedication. An amazing accomplishment for the Artemis II team to have this rocket launch into space. And it was such a powerful moment to witness in person. We have to tell the viewers, we lost communication. Right as this thing got into space.
And it was a seismic event here. It felt like we're on risers, so maybe it amplified the feeling. I wish all of you watching and listening could feel what we felt and hear what we felt. It is like ripping the air in two. I mean, that was a true physical sensation unlike anything I've ever experienced. And we're so blessed to have such a beautiful day here in Florida where we had incredible visibility.
It was
See
fantastic.
the rocket. I mean, it must have been 30 miles downrange.
Katie, we're watching right now as important systems are detaching from the rest of the SLS that's going to head toward the moon. Walk us through what's actually happening right now. It's hard to get a vantage point because it's obviously in space, but give us an idea of what we're anticipating now 6 minutes into this launch.
We're about 6 minutes, and so we're actually waiting on, really the big thing is main engine cutoff.
Yeah.
And we've already disposed of the launch abort system, and it's about getting all the way to the orbit that they planned. But we're hearing different calls of you can go if you lose an engine, you can still get to orbit. You know, those kinds of calls. So they're giving them their progress so far.
Yeah, and we've had the abort systems jettison, and now we're getting close to the core stage jettison. So we're getting closer and closer, 7 minutes in to this rocket not really needing any of the other peripheral parts to get it out of Newton and the force of gravity and physics. Now it is getting closer and closer to space. And thankfully, all of the little glitches that popped up in the last few minutes of the countdown
turned out to be nothing.
Turned out to be nil
at all.
It appears they have good telemetry.
Yeah.
It appears they have all of the systems that they needed. The abort system worked okay, and there are no leaks. There are no hydrogen leaks,
which had been a concern
for weeks,
for a long time.
So this is going very well.
Yeah, Miles, I did not expect my body to shake that way. This launch pad, for folks that are watching at home and don't have reference, it's miles away, and you could literally feel yourself shaking as this rocket is heading.
Yeah, it's an experience I wish more people
Miles,
could.
actually, I'm sorry, let's go ahead and listen in.
Yeah, sure.
Important comms happening right now. We'll get back to you in a sec.
Yeah.
We're waiting for the main engine cutoff signal, and so we're waiting to hear them confirm that it's been cut off.
And Katie, you would say, I think that main engine cutoff is extremely key. I mean, it's kind of the last major hurdle here.
Main engine cutoff at just the right time means you've gotten to the place that you plan to be, at the speed you plan to be. We're just about to hear it. Whoa. So that is separate. That is that is beautiful.
Core stage separated, and what a view!
So in other words, they don't need that fuel because the engines are done, right?
Yeah.
And now they're just with the second stage.
Miles, I mean, it seems that the most difficult part of getting to the moon, at least, has gone outstandingly well.
Yeah, this is at the top of the list of difficult things. There's more to come. There's a translunar injection, which is an important burn, which will get them a little further in an orbit that will get them to the moon. But what we saw there was just a perfect symphony of space. And I got to tell you, the percussion section is pretty strong. And I will say, Pete Montine, as your introduction as space correspondent, how are you going to top this one?
I don't know. I mean, that was pretty powerful and pretty cool. It's nothing to shake a stick at, that's for sure. That was incredible.
But you know, not to get too schmaltzy or emotional, but I do in these moments. This is a great testament to what human beings can do together in a positive way. You know, we live in a world that's so fractured and so negative at times. You know, space gives us this opportunity to realize when we work together, we can do really great things if we want. And what we just witnessed was truly great.
I had to take a few deep breaths as I was watching that. Because
or not. I felt like I wasn't breathing.
It's extremely emotional to watch this thing. It gives you a sense of the sublime and what is possible, right? I wonder how made you feel, Kate?
When it really lifts off, there's this just visceral feeling of just knowing how many things have to go exactly right for those people to make it to space, which is then the safest place. And it's hard to watch.
It is. It's nerve-wracking.
Totally hard to watch.
At the same time, it is exhilarating, and Garrett Reisman has been standing by watching with us. Garrett, I'm sure that brought back some pleasant memories.
Sure did. Really happy to hear the words nominal, MECO, nominal orbital insertion. That all means that everything went exactly according to plan. This whole launch was actually incredibly smooth. The few problems that they were working were kind of run-of-the-mill typical issues that go into any launch count. And I think, you know, this went, frankly, better than I expected. The first time that they strapped people into the rocket and were prepared to launch, off they went. It's a real testament to the hard work of thousands of people at NASA that made this all possible. And Reed is going to the freaking moon. I just think that's amazing.
That is outstanding. You were telling us just a minute ago that you were part of the process that selected him as an astronaut. For the folks on board Artemis II right now, as they've heard that everything has been a success, how do you imagine that they're processing that? What is going through their minds? Is it
fully just a technical experience where they're focused on the next thing on the checklist? Do you even imagine that they're taking in what they've just experienced and the history that they're on the precipice of?
I'm sure a part of them is taken in, but as Miles pointed out, there's still a long way to go. There's several burns coming up that are going to raise first perigee and then raise apogee. So they're going to adjust the orbit. Those were all critical burns. They're still on the suborbital trajectory right now, actually. And then, then they got to go do that translunar injection burn to really go off and head towards the moon. All those are critical. And then, of course, coming back, and the thing that I think is going to be the most significant or most concerning thing to pay attention is when they come back and re-enter the atmosphere. I think that's the part of this mission that we're all probably the most focused on or concerned about from a risk perspective. So there's still a long way to go, but the fact that they got up there and everything went so well, that's got to make them feel pretty exhilarated.
Yeah, no doubt. Taking off and landing, obviously the hardest part of any flight, right, Katie?
Yep. I remember feeling, I hadn't realized I wasn't, that I was worried about it, but once I got up on the space station, just realizing, okay, ascent is done. I'm glad that part is done, and now I get to be up here. I mean, the hardest parts really are, launch and landing, and especially, I think, for the families.
Of course, yeah, and so many of them watching on hand in person and absorbing the moment as we all did. And Pete, I see you're holding your model. I'm sure you've got some GC there.
Man, it's like we've done this before.
Maybe last night too.
So yeah, maybe last night. Let's just review what we have seen. We watched obviously the entirety of the rocket and the SLS lift off here at Launchpad 39B. We saw a little ways into this the solid rocket booster separation. Thank you, that was very good because I am not by manual at the moment because I have to hold a microphone. Then a few moments ago, we saw stage separation. So the core stage, which is the orange portion, looks a lot like the center of looks a lot like the center of the space shuttle. The large tank there, that's separated from the upper stage, and so the upper stage here is what's very critical now. The actual Orion capsule is at the very top here, and later there will be a separation between the capsule and the ICPS, the Interim Cryogenic Propulsion System. That's a mouthful.
Now on, we're going to call it the upper stage.
The upper stage.
So it still has the upper stage.
Yes, and it still has the upper stage. So this is all sort of one self-contained piece at the moment. Later, this will become two parts, and the crew, this is where they do some of that pilot stuff. They will fly the Orion capsule around the ICPS in a manual mode, essentially like a test flight, where they will test the maneuverability of the capsule itself, which is really key when it comes to landing on the moon. They need to have the control fidelity. They need to be able to maneuver the capsule in space to be able to land it precisely in Artemis 4. So this is a really quite incredible test flight that we have seen, and we are proving thing after thing, checkbox after checkbox, that this can happen, and this launch has gone remarkably well. This paves the way for lunar landings again. This paves the way for a presence on the moon and potentially going to Mars. But this is the most critical test flight. You cannot underscore that superlative enough. This is gone so well so far. Of course, you don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
But really,
there's still a lot that has to go right.
Yes, and I'm getting texts from so many of you. Thank you all for your messages. And one of the messages I got was, can't ask for a launch to go any better than that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's go to Titusville, Florida, with CNN's David Culver, who is standing by with a group of folks that were watching this launch. They've been waiting for hours, David. I mean, it had to have been an impressive view. What are you seeing?
And emotional, Boris. Yeah, we're 8 miles from where you are, so it sounded like thunder from a distance, but the view in of itself, I mean, when we saw it from here, you had folks who were just locked in and trying to just process what they were seeing. I think what you're seeing now behind me is it's clearing out rather quickly. And let me point up here, actually. We'll spin the camera around, and you can see there's massive crowds that have just taken over the middle of this bridge. They had to shut it down. And what was incredible, Boris, is you had no communication. Signal was down for folks who were trying to watch on the live stream, so they had no idea when it was going to happen, and they were just trying to lock in and focus as much as they could towards the launch pad, towards where you are. And then when it took off, you just saw all sorts of emotions, everything from just big smiles, cheers intermittently, And you even saw it down there. You can see they've closed off the road, but you've got first responders who, in that moment, had their phones out, were hugging their arms around each other, and you could just see the unity in this space. And now you've got what is, I mean, just imagine the clearing of a massive concert or event, and folk carrying their beach chairs and coolers, and they're all returning back to their cars, their RVs, and they're continuing on. You had people here, Boris, who were prepared to stay several days should it not have launched today, but now you can see they're just so grateful that this was what took place, what they were able to see from this distance, even without understanding what's happening. No social media connection, nothing. They were just taking it in the moment, being fully present, and I think that's what really stands out.
A spectacular thing to witness in person. David Culver, thank you so much from Titusville. Coming up, we have more reaction to Artemis II's liftoff, a historic mission sending humans toward the moon for the first time in more than a half century. Our next guest called his journey to space the most profound experience. Actor and Star Trek legend William Shatner will join us in just moments. Special live coverage of the most ambitious mission that NASA has launched in more than half a century. Artemis II now headed on its journey toward the moon and beyond. This is the moment, just moments ago, that it successfully launched from Florida's Kennedy Space Center.
10, 9, 8, 7, RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Good roll pitch.
Roger, roll pitch.
Houston now controlling the flight of integrity on the Artemis II mission around the moon.
Integrity, AMT high.
AMT high.
On time, passing 30 seconds into the flights. Integrity passes the alternate vehicle. Target milestone. Mission Control Houston seeing good performance on the four engines. Space Launch System core stage. Integrity, 3 miles in altitude. Traveling more than 1,200 miles per hour. Mission last time, passing 1 minute, approaching max Q.
On, Ponce de Leon.
Stan, we have you loud and clear on Ponce de Leon.
Have you the same?
Communication signal transfer confirmed as Integrity and its crew go supersonic. Approaching 90 seconds into the Artemis II mission. Integrity is 14 miles in altitude, 8 miles downrange, traveling more than 2,600 miles. 10.
The Orion capsule carrying 4 astronauts is now in space, beginning its 10-day journey that will take them 4,600 miles beyond the far side of the moon, the furthest humans have ever gone into space. CNN's Ed Lavandera is at a watch party inside NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Ed, there was a lot of cheering here behind me. I imagine you saw some of that too.
Oh yeah, Houston, we are having no problems, but a very, very good time here. We're about 1,300 people gathered at Space Center Houston, which is the visitor center right next door to Johnson Space Center. They filled up this lobby, and I can tell you it was an electric moment watching there on the big screen the launch here. All of these people in a community that has been so intertwined with the NASA space program for decades and decades. So this really kind of hitting to the heart of this community. All these people who either are directly working for NASA or have friends, some sort of connection to it. This moment means so much to so many people, and it was just electric. And what really struck me, Boris, as we were watching the launch is that after that initial, as you watch the rocket boosters take off and the eruption from the engines sending this rocket out into space, there were times where it was just eerily quiet in here. Everybody on pins and needles watching what was going to happen, watching that rocket lift into outer space, and on the edge of their seat. I talked to a lot of people who talked about it was a nerve-wracking experience. This is a test flight. This, there were deep concerns about exactly how this was going to play out. A very risky mission. All of that. And that tension and excitement and euphoria we experienced and watched firsthand here this afternoon. Boris?
It was unbelievable to witness. Ed Lavandera, live for us in Houston. Thank you so much. At any moment now, another key part of this mission. The solar array wings on Artemis II will deploy, transitioning the vessel from battery power to solar power as it makes its way toward the moon. Joining us now is an actor who holds the record for being the oldest person to travel to space, William Shatner. Sir, thank you so much for being with us. You, at 90 years old in 2021, you traveled to space. Of course, how did it feel like watching today's launch?
Well, I was as tense as everybody with the knowledge of everything that could go wrong and the details that did go wrong that delayed the program. And then when liftoff was achieved, what a shaking of the fist for the victory, and what a plug for American technology and American space program. When I was on a spaceship getting ready to lift off, the countdown got to about 14, and the guy said, all right, we're going to move the gantry back. Anybody who wants to get off should get off now. What? That was our countdown. That certainly didn't happen there. But the fear that must be mixed with the sense of victory with those people incarcerated in that ship, with all their practice, with all their ingenuity, with all their technology, the fear of what could possibly happen must be lurking somewhere. Right. And it certainly was in my brain.
Yeah, no doubt. You say incarcerated. I have no doubt that there is nowhere else those four astronauts would rather be right now than locked into that Orion capsule. I want to ask you about the feelings that you had seeing the beauty of Earth from space. And I remember you being somewhat melancholic about it, speaking about the Earth's vulnerability. Tell us about that.
Well, that's exactly what happened. I went to the window to look at the magic, and I saw this black, palpable darkness, which was death. And I looked behind me, and I saw the beige of the desert and the white of the clouds and the blue of the sky. That's life, that's death. And I thought, what we're doing to our planet. And when we landed, I was overcome with this terrible feeling of sadness. I didn't know what it was. It took me a few minutes to realize that I was in grief for the beauty of our planet, which we are destroying at a rapid rate, and how important it is for us to stop and take a breath and go back to healing our planet, which will heal us as well. And all these technical programs, going to the moon, going to the Mars, is all part of a technology that we need to use to heal the planet.
Yeah, and obviously for these astronauts, having the perspective that you had, albeit from a different vantage point, I imagine is going to be something that they will never forget, and I'm excited for them to share it with the world, with the iPhones they're taking up there. One of the big firsts on this trip. Another first, one of your fellow Canadians is making history during this mission. Jeremy Hansen will be the first Canadian ever to venture into lunar orbit. I mean, you spoke about, with pride, about American technology a moment ago. What does this mean for Canadian pride?
Well, Canadians contributed to all that, and of course, there was a previous Canadian on a space program, and this Canadian, Hayden, it's remarkable what Canada, with its much smaller population and technological advancement, has added to the space program. We're very proud of what Canadians have contributed to this exploration of space, exploration of mankind's reach, the possibility of going to Mars, and discovering more about the mystery of the universe. All that, so many nations have contributed led by America and its unquestionable excellence in technological advancement.
It certainly makes us feel patriotic to watch this unfold and to have NASA leading the way this way. William Shatner, thank you so much for sharing your evening with us. It's incredible to have this moment to share with you. Thanks for being with us.
I enjoyed it so much. Thank you for allowing me.
Of course. We are back with our panel now. Miles O'Brien, first to you. William Shatner describing the Orion capsule as the astronauts being incarcerated, and there's not something I had on the bingo card.
It's not exactly hard time,
but
is
it's so great to hear from him.
I just want what he's having. He's what, 95, and look at him, man. He's fabulous. You know, a couple things. The Canadians do punch above their weight when it comes to space, and they have all along. And it's impressive when you look at the Canadarm, the robot arm, and the shuttle. The contributions they've made over the years are truly per capita way beyond what you would expect from a country. The other thing I'd like to point out here is this moment, and sort of the melancholy, bittersweet nature of it, comes after a really tough year for NASA. It faced draconian budget cuts, 20% across the board, 50% for space science. That was all clawed back by Congress, fortunately, and an additional $10 billion was given to the program, this particular program, to ensure that Artemis continues. So this has been, annus horribilis for NASA, with a cherry on top of just a great moment of joy and a new leader who is widely recognized by the NASA rank and file as taking the agency in the right direction, Jared Isaacman.
Yeah, a triumphant moment for the NASA administrator. We have Swapna Krishna with us. She's a space journalist. Thanks so much for joining our conversation. I mean, you got to see it in person. I'm sure you were sort of shaking like the rest of us were. What did it feel like?
Oh, I cried.
Is it your first one?
It's not my first launch, but I've been waiting to see this one. I came down to cover Artemis 1, but I wasn't able to come back for the second attempt. So this, I definitely cried. It's hard to describe for people who have never seen a launch how you feel it in your chest and how orange that flame is, and it is just shocking. It is.
It's extremely bright. Obviously, it's hard to tell on TV, but those flames, I mean, it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts, absolutely. And it hurts your ears, and it's just such a visceral, overwhelming experience. And then if you love space, it also makes you very emotional, as it did me.
Yeah, and I wonder, Katie, as you hear that reaction, that is part of what NASA wants to evoke in a generation of young people in order to get into STEM, in order to pursue not only science, but also aeronautics as a field. It's part of the reason that they're pursuing this mission.
Well, space is always, people love to hear about space, but it's always really clear how difficult the missions are. And so when young people, old people, all of us see the impossible right in front of our eyes be possible, it changes something in their brain. And there's things that they then will address and be part of because they realize that no matter how hard it is, they can make that happen.
Yeah, it expands your understanding of what is possible, right?
It really does.
I also wanted to ask you, Swapna, what do you think of the fact that this is going to be one of many steps as NASA tries to go further and further into deep space, potentially within the decade to Mars?
I'm ready for it. I've been waiting for this mission my entire life. I've been waiting to go back to the moon. I've loved space ever since I was a young child, and I cannot wait. I'm so excited for what's to come. We've built on a great foundation with Shuttle and the International Space Station, and now we're going back, and it's amazing.
Yeah. What is the next step that you're watching for as this mission unfolds that'll let you know sort of like how it's going, how the tests have gone in order to sort of set that table for Artemis 3 and beyond?
I think there's a lot of really cool stuff that's going to happen in the next 24 hours. The prox ops demo, the proximity operations, is something I'm really looking at for that manual control of Orion. I'm really curious about the spacesuits, the radiation shielding that they're going to test. But personally, I'm looking so forward. With this launch date, it's very likely they'll get an eclipse. Like, from the far side of the moon, they'll get to see an eclipse. And what does that even look like? I'm so excited for this lunar flyby.
It is going to be something spectacular to watch. Getting to the moon takes more than just a powerful launch. It also takes a crucial follow-up boost
CNN's Tom Foreman in just moments is going to show us what helped send the Artemis II into a high orbit. And check this out. We have the moment that a crowd at a watch party in Huntsville, Alabama, where some of Artemis was constructed as they react to liftoff.
And for the moon, humanity's next great voyage begins.
We're back with CNN's special edition of Aaron Burnett Out Front and what we believe are new images of Artemis II. This is the upper stage of Artemis II. You can see planet Earth off in the distance. Katie, you want to wave? See if we can see you waving from here. The solar arrays are now fully extended on the spacecraft as it heads on its mission toward the moon. Let's bring back the panel for final thoughts about today. First, on this image, Miles, from NASA TV. I mean, that is just a stunning view.
Well, it's just the beginning, isn't it? You know, I'm sure it'll be very interesting to see the prox ops, as they call it, as they try to rendezvous and practice flying in space. And then it'll be very interesting to see the translunar injection, to see how that goes as the Earth gets smaller and smaller, about the size of a basketball relative to who they are. And then, of course, we'll see the far side of the moon from their eyes in a way we haven't before. Apollo 8, that was 16mm film. Today we're doing 4K. We're going to see an upgraded version of that famous Earthrise. And then we're going to be, holding our breath as they come down to make sure that heat shield works well. This mission, nothing succeeds like success. And a mission like this can really get some momentum going for this Artemis campaign. What has happened with the new leadership at NASA, Jared Isaacman, he has reorganized this program in an efficient way that takes a lot of the big milestones and separates them down separate paths, so things can happen concurrently and more efficiently. It's a breath of fresh air for the program, and assuming this mission goes well, they've got the money to go forward.
A bright new day for NASA. So your final thoughts?
There are a lot of questions about why are we going to do this? Why are we going? I hear that a lot as a journalist and a science communicator. And I'm like, you look at an image like this and I ask myself, why wouldn't we go? Looking at that, like, why wouldn't we want to see what's out there? I think it's in human nature to be curious, and why wouldn't we want to go? And that's like how I feel. I feel so inspired seeing these images, seeing that launch, seeing this mission.
Man seeks to explore the way that salmon swim upstream, is what Neil Armstrong said about that desire for chasing a new frontier. Katie Coleman, as someone who has been out there and has seen Earth as just kind of a dot, probably much bigger than a dot from the International Space Station, but still, it's pretty far away and impressive as we see in this image. Give us your reflections on what's been a historic launch here from Kennedy Space Center.
Just the fact that this, like, we're as journalists and as people, most of the people around are like, oh, they launched today, they're really going to the moon. But there is a workforce, and it is NASA and the international partners and all these companies of people that wake up every morning certain we're going to the moon, we're going to be settling on the moon, and we need to get ready. And I mean, and some of those people will be in Artemis III simulations tomorrow morning, right? I mean, the machine that is exploration really did such a great job today, and it is a mighty machine, and they are wonderful people, and I just give them so much credit for doing something that we only kind of notice when they do the big thing, but they're on a path, and they are bringing all of us to the moon.
Yeah, and today we are in awe of their work. We witness history, we witness greatness and excellence, and the result of hard work and dedication. And obviously, it's just the beginning. So thank you all so much for being with us. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a momentous evening here in Florida. You can find more coverage of NASA's Artemis II mission and its 10-day journey on the CNN app. This is a very busy news night. It is far from over. CNN's Caitlin Collins and John Berman are up next with special coverage of President Trump's primetime address. Thank you for joining us.
RS-25 engines. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great.
Houston, integrity, good roll pitch.